All right, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. I can't say that enough. Wake up, wake up, wake up. And I can also say this. Hello and welcome to Zenny 62 on for what many has been quite a beautiful night, particularly on the West Coast and the East Coast, even in the dark. Um, but I digress. The whole point is, hey, you know what? It's been a grand weekend. Hope you had a great 4th of July, and I hope that you were able to enjoy all of the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful benefits of living in these grand United States of America. All right, as they say, let's dispense with the pleasantries and argue. For those of you who came to argue, you come to the right place. I say welcome. And I don't know if you got the notification, but I'm also going to send out the tweet letting all know that I is here and ready for battle. And that's exactly what I mean, because I put out a blog post that preceded this that signaled that I am, as Thor would put it, sending a message to all throughout the realms of the galaxy that I am ready for war. And the reason why I say that is because it's a war of information. The war to represent that the right information gets out rather than the information that you, or for that matter, I want to get out, the right information. And it's a war that I am going to wage by myself, because when I tried to turn to certain organizations or certain people for assistance, they went a little loopy on me. So I'm not going to make that mistake again. And I'm going to trust on my fan base to dive in, because they have been the best at assisting and the greatest truth tellers of all. So with that, I am going to launch forward by reading the blog post that I wrote and posted a little while ago tonight. And just as soon as I send out this tweet, and I will say YouTube, right? And then bam, log in and tweet, and then voila, it's gone out into the Twitterverse. So if you go to Zenny62, you can retweet it if you're around to do so, if you are on social media like you should be, or here, which is really technically both, right? All right, this is what I'm about to read to you, what I wrote earlier, okay? Goes like this. Las Vegas Stadium. 2 giant California earthquakes over 6.5 and felt in Las Vegas at a level of 3 or 4 are the largest of thousands of aftershocks. And yet, the Raiders say Las Vegas Raiders Stadium wasn't impacted? Yeah, right. The Las Vegas Stadium for the Oakland Raiders could have a giant series of problems come up during its construction process, and the public would never really know it. Assisted by a local media that acts like a public relations company and bears zero resemblance to a true investigative news organization, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority and the Oakland Raiders have carte blanche to attempt to shield the public from what's really going on. Let's consider the facts. The Las Vegas Stadium Authority has no weekly updated press area and no record of press releases on its website, no documented attempt to use its website to inform the public about the construction process, bad news or good news. This is a direct opposite path of the Salesforce Transit Center project in San Francisco, where the Transbay Joint Powers Authority had a web portal for news updates, which was added on a weekly basis. 2, there have been a number of problems associated with Las Vegas Stadium, from the slow and less than forecast stadium hotel tax revenue to the steel delay problem and associated results, and now this earthquake impact issue. In all cases, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority did not attempt to set a press conference to officially update the media and public and field questions. Good evening, David. The local Las Vegas media has, in many cases, bent over backward to help the Las Vegas Stadium Authority and the Oakland Raiders in the process of not informing the public by avoiding calls for press conference or press updates or press conference, or even Raiders video updates. The public gets far more video updates about the privately owned Raiders organization's players than it does the construction of the publicly owned Las Vegas Stadium. Think about that, folks. In the view of this blogger, the local media's collective behavior is reminiscent of the national media's assist given to the Bush administration, yes, I said the Bush administration, in propping up a false set of ideas, we call it fake news now, during the Iraq War. And I quote, "Major news organizations aided and abetted the Bush administration's march to war on what turned out to be faulty premises. All too often, skepticism was checked at the door, and the shaky claims of top officials and unnamed sources were trumpeted as fact. The Las Vegas media had better hope nothing tragically bad happens during the construction of Las Vegas Stadium that bloggers warned about, yet were unbadmouthed by them. If that happens, those persons representing Las Vegas media or the national media in publishing Las Vegas Stadium propaganda, yet trying to shut down the voices who would ask questions, should be made to spend a week in jail." You hear me? In jail. Stay tuned. And that's my statement. All right? I'm going to war about this. And when I say war, I mean I am going to put out more information about what's happening in terms of the bedrock that you're not getting. There's no weekly update. Running to an organization like the Las Vegas Review-Journal, which has a stake, let's face it, a stake in the stadium itself, is disingenuous. Not telling us precisely what's going on a regular basis from one place, not holding press conferences where people can ask questions on a regular basis, is completely unfair. It is wrong to treat the public that way, and it doesn't matter that the public doesn't seem to be interested. The public, if something bad happens, will want to know why you didn't tell them what was going on as it was happening. So don't be a fool out there and think, oh my goodness, it's okay because the public isn't, tearing down the doors for information. No, that fact does not take away another fact, that what is being built in Las Vegas right now is the largest project of its kind in Las Vegas history, period. Heck, in Nevada history. And it must be treated as such. Therefore, it has to be the recipient of the same kind and the same high level of care of the presentation of information about it and the dissemination of that information to everyone, not just to one organization that was on, whose founder was slated to put over $650 million, and not only $650 million, folks. Sheldon Adelson, through Rob Goldstein, the chief operating officer of Las Vegas Sands, had said, and I quote, that they would cover all cost overruns and off-site infrastructure improvements. He said that, I believe it was September 8th or thereabouts of 2016. The bottom line is they, Las Vegas Sands, presented the image that they were possessing of a gigantic blank check that they would fill in with whatever the amount they chose to on a regular basis. That's the same organization that owns the Las Vegas Review-Journal. So do you think that they would tell us that their position changed once the NFL vote was let, and a few months afterward when they were able to work out some problems behind the scenes? No. No. And so why should we trust the very news organization that's owned by the Las Vegas Sands Corporation to give us the skinny without any attempt to wash, spit shine, or buff the content that's released. Quite the contrary. The information that comes from the Las Vegas Review-Journal is more than washed, spit shined, and buffed. It's put through, I would say, an equivalent kind of washing of information that one would see perhaps in North Korea. Yes, I did say that. North Korea. This is not funny. None of this is funny. And those of you who have been aiding and abetting it must stop immediately. It doesn't matter if you're getting paid or not. It's what you're contributing to that's the problem. Now, on the other hand, it's a free country. Anyone can say what they want. But what I'm explaining to you is when you have not one, but 2 giant earthquakes that cause thousands of aftershocks and are projected to cause 30,000 more aftershocks and are only 3 hours away. And then on top of that, you have the Decatur Fault, which is, no, not 1 mile, not 20 miles, but 1 city block away from Las Vegas Stadium, excuse me, and it's ruled active, then it means it's a new day. And you have to act with a coordinate care, precision, and trepidation. Everybody involved in this should be scared the fuck that that thing will break. They should be monitoring it every fucking second of every fucking day. That is a situation that was opened up with those tremors, those earthquakes, those aftershocks. But instead of talking about that, instead of, hey, anyone from the authorities saying, you know what, we're rolling out this new approach and we are going to monitor these situations around the stadium within a 25-mile radius, and we're going to keep track of every possible tremor that may happen, and we're going to have our own early warning system because we're playing with something that's $2 billion. We're trying to build it. Instead of saying that, it's more of the same. Oh, nothing wrong, nothing to see here. Give me a fucking break. And I'm gonna tell you something. Some of the people who say, "Oh well, watch, so and so's video or this and so's video or whatever." I'm not naming them because there are people who do it too much. All right, and I don't know David Fidis or Reese, I believe it is. Seems like a nice guy, but I'm gonna tell you something. He's playing what I call the one-track game. That is, I point to a particular problem, and then instead of giving me a rundown of what's happening with the stadium separate from what I mentioned that may be a problem, he only focuses on what I mentioned as the problem, which means I can trap him any kind of way I go. It also means his presentation isn't to tell me what's really happening at the stadium so much as some feeble attempt to blunt me from saying anything that might be negative. I am not against the stadium being built, but the reason why I have driven this so hard is because there have been so many people who've attempted in many different ways to ignore the truth about something related to the stadium. This has gone on for quite some time. Okay? I mean, I go all the way back to, and these are people I like, all right? I seriously like the people that I'm thinking about. It reminds me of the saying, it's like, don't hate the player, hate the game. In this instance, I'm hating the game. I'm not hating the player. But it has to be said, the bond issue that was let for Las Vegas Stadium has a 1.5 to 1 debt coverage ratio. Anybody in the business knows damn well it should be 2 to 1. You're playing with fire at 1.5 to 1. Why is that important? Because what it says, it's inviting trouble. It's saying, oh, come on and just raise less revenue to pay off the bonds. It's going to be okay. You know why? The taxpayers are going to handle the rest. Ooh, boy. That's what it says. That's what they said. That's what they said. And then I raised the issue. I say, hey, look, why are you doing 1.5 to 1? Oh, there's no problem. Turns out there people were actually saying, you know what? He's got a point. Because a lot of you walked into this for the first time. You've never been involved in this stuff before, okay? Ever. As Jose just said, yeah, I should take the time and build the stadium right. But stop picking on people who just want the truth to get out. If there's problems, you know what? Wouldn't be the first time. I mean, in terms of American history. So what? They're problems. Fix them. That's where greatness comes in, you know? So now I'll read your comments. I apologize, but not a lot of comments. A lot of viewers, but not a lot of comments. Donuts go great because that means more of me and less of you. Just kidding. Someone used to say that. I think it was actually JT the Brick, who look. I love JT. He's my friend, but I do not like his forays into racism of late. Okay, I thought it was unusually classless. And I say unusually because I don't associate JT with what he did in terms of taking a step toward criticizing NBA Commissioner Adam Silver regarding the issue of using the name owner. Okay, I don't want to go off on that because I just don't. But what right now? But what I don't like is that JT went on his Facebook page and went on Facebook and wrote a missive. And my thought, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, is this: look, don't talk to me about political correctness, okay? Because if you say you're tired of political correctness, what you're saying to me is, hey, you know what? I don't want to be a gentleman or a lady. I think we've had quite enough of that. We need more ladies and gentlemen around. All right. Daniel Gutierrez says, good evening. Good to see you again. That you're going live the third time. My third time watching. Daniel, nice to have you back. Harrison, how you doing? Jose Rivas says they should take their time and build the stadium right. All right. And my point is, look, it's the earthquake thing. How many of you out there felt the earthquake? I didn't. I'm here in suburban Atlanta, Georgia. But a why or a yes, did you feel the earthquake? Were you in it? I talked to a number of friends who were, and they were explaining to me that it just happened so fast for them. I said to my friend Karen, why don't you just take a film in the pool, right? No. Okay, Jordan Yancey was in. Jordan, what was it like for you? What did you feel? And so everyone was scared. John says, you're in, John Collins is in El Paso, Texas. Okay, so no, right? Because he's too far away. But my friends, like my friend Julie in Palm Springs, it was a wake-up call. Everyone was like, wow, what just happened there? But to read the tweets from Las Vegas, and in particular Vital Vegas, talking about this thing. Vital Vegas is by Scott Rosen, told me, hey, you know what? There's an issue here with reporting. Something's going on in Vegas. We're not hearing about it. Daniel Gutierrez writes, I felt it twice, once at the 4th of July. The next day I was at work inside of a customer's home. My God, wow. Jordan Yancey says, had the car shaking back and forth with light poles shaking. You know, that's wild. That sounds like that scene from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If you've ever had an opportunity to see Close Encounters of the Third Kind, please take it. Do it. If you ever had the opportunity to watch that movie, do it. Daniel Gutierrez writes, I was wondering, is there any rooms in the 18th regarding their new stadium? I don't understand that question. You're right. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. I was wondering, is there any rooms on the 18th regarding their new stadium? What do you mean? I don't know how to interpret your question, so can you rewrite it so that I can properly repeat it and answer it? Thank you. And so, the other issue is that I have to tell you, you know what? and I've said it before and I'll say it again, this looks a lot like the whole Iraq War situation. Some of you weren't around for that. I was, but there was, it was right after 9/11, September 11th, 2001. And I remember where I was. In fact, I'll tell you, I fell asleep on my couch and I woke up at 4. He's in Oakland. Used to live on Van Buren, and I woke up at 4:16 in the morning. I left the TV on. It was on Channel 2, and World One, Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. World One was on fire. World One. And I thought it was just a routine fire. To make a long story short, for the purpose of what we're doing here, I watched it in horror for the rest of that morning. I wound up calling a friend of mine who was in New York, Dan, who, ironically enough, wanted me to interview with American Express to work at the World 7, which I believe did survive in that debacle. World 7. He wanted me to work for American Express, and I never wound up getting an interview. Lucky me, I guess. He was fine, though. He was right down there. He was fine. It was a situation where people wanted to strike back, okay? But who do you strike back against? And that was the dilemma facing the Bush administration. There was a lot of pressure to come up with a boogey person, someone to get. All right. Oh, Daniel says, I was wondering about the Oakland A's. What is the latest regarding the new stadium? Oh, the latest is that right now they did give a presentation to the city council. Actually, really, staff gave it. That was last week. And there's still a lot of concern about the gondola proposal and why the A's are proposing and pushing this idea for this overhead gondola that would connect ostensibly the area near 12th Street, Oakland City Center, BART, and the hotel area to the baseball stadium itself, pass over the neighborhood that is between the central downtown and Jack London Square, and then leave people without the ability to stop and get a coffee or a latte or eat something on the way to the baseball stadium, and thereby pump dollars into Oakland, at least that part of Oakland, is beyond me. I don't understand that. So I'm communicating to you what the concerns of many Oaklanders are. Hey, what is it that you can't just build something that's part of the fabric, the urban fabric, as we call it, of Oakland, where people are encouraged to walk through downtown, in much the way, and along Broadway, in much the same way that you or I have walked down Main Street in Disneyland or Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdoms, from the entrance to Cinderella's castle. The castle sits at the end, the carrot at the end of the stick. Well, similarly, the baseball stadium sits at the end, the carrot at the end of the stick. Okay, so there's the concern right there. Do I think it's a deal breaker? No, because the A's have done too much work on financing and approvals for them to decide they're not going to do anything because the city and the community really are not hot for a gondola. Actually save them some money, okay? And I think there are other ways to handle that problem, all right? I really do. Many other ways to handle that problem. Bus bridges. Bring back the key system. That's something that's talked about a long time. You say, what's the key system? That's the old trolley system that once ably served Oakland and Berkeley, I might add. John Acala says, do you think the Oakland Coliseum gets demolished once the Raiders and A's leave? No, I don't. Now, I do think, the question isn't whether or not it does. The question is whether or not it should. All right. I think the stadium, I'll tell you what I think. The stadium should remain because it's going to be used for football. The Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority is about this close. In fact, Scott McKibben is headed to the championship game. Hey, Sean, I need your email right now. Please write your email right down there, all right? But I digress. The Scott McKibben is actually headed down to Phoenix as I speak, actually later this week, to attend their equivalent, the Indoor Football League's equivalent of the Super Bowl. And the commissioner of the Indoor Football League is very excited about the, quote, possibility, unquote, of hopefully having a team in Oakland. Now, you would say, why am I throwing out the words possibility and hopefully? And it's because there's a lot of work to go into, and that's as much as I can tell you. Right there, okay? So I got to clip myself because I don't want to blow confidence. There. Okay, cool. Got it. Got it. All right. Got that. Here. However, my point is, if this deal goes through, and I think it will mean the return of football to the Oakland Coliseum pretty much as fast as the Raiders are trying to leave. And not only that, too, given what's happening here with this stadium, you might see the Raiders for a third year. I wouldn't leave that possibility out, okay? I wouldn't. It's just the way it's going. It really is. Something else, too, that you have to be aware of, and I'm making you aware of a possibility right now, is there may be a strike next NFL season. I repeat, there may be a work stoppage in the National Football League. That has been talked about by some. There's supposed to be a big meeting between the NFL and the NFLPA, I believe, on the 17th of July. And at that point, there will be a lot of discussion regarding, well, essentially the labor future of the National Football League. It's huge stuff, folks. Huge stuff. Huge stuff, okay? So, I think it puts a different, excuse me from mumbling, I think it puts a different a different slant, a different look on why the Raiders are working so hard to build this stadium. They're trying to finish this before any potential work stoppage comes about. Okay, that's because, excuse me, there's some people who believe, I happen to disagree with them, that if there is a work stoppage, the National Football League as we know it will cease to exist. That this work stoppage could be the mother of all work stoppages that ends the NFL. Now, let's think about that for a moment, because that's quite a bold claim. But I'm not kidding you. It is within the realm of possibility, and here's why. Only, look, 7% of the NFL revenue comes from tickets. The rest comes from television. So if the NFL goes through this work stoppage, it means they're cut off on television, okay? And then if you have these other leagues like the XFL and, of course, the Indoor Football League, and who knows what else is coming down the pipe comes up, and may come up, and I think certainly would come up if there was a work stoppage, then you would have to ask the question, to what degree can the NFL recapture its fan base? My answer to that question is, 100%, okay? I'm sorry, but what I saw in Nashville when I was there for the NFL draft cemented my belief that the NFL has, if it wants to have it, its finger on the pulse of American culture. That's why this whole flag, national anthem thing was so sad, because it was an example of the NFL not respecting its players' position, and the players have their finger on the culture of America better than the NFL owners, and so in a better position to make the owners look good. Anyway, Sean Watson says, what do you think about the XFL? I think the NFL needs a challenge. I think it's going to get it, but the biggest challenge the NFL has right now is with itself. And in fact, let me see if I can get, it's a good question, Sean, but let me see if I can get some other information on this NFL, see, NFLPA news, NFLPA issue, all right? Here it is, okay? This Seahawks wire came out 2 days ago, NFLPA to meet to discuss collective bargaining agreement. This has a photograph of DeMaurice Smith, and I got from here on out more on this beyond what I'm telling you, okay? Because you all should be informed about this. I'm not saying you have to inform yourself. I'm saying it's my job to make sure you're informed about this. I'll do my job, and I'll do it well. I promise you. This is Dan Graziano says sources. Collective bargaining agreement talks between the National Football League and the National Football League Players Association are expected to intensify this summer in an effort to get a new deal done by the start of the 2019 season. In other words, just a few months from now. 3 to 4 negotiating sessions possible in July alone, all right? And that comes from ESPN has a story, and I think, let me see what that is. John Clayton would be great to get on. If I could get John Clayton on this show, it would be fantastic. I'm still looking through this. But one of the big issues with respect to Las Vegas Stadium that has to come up is gambling. You and I both know, if you regularly watch my show, that the raison d'etre, the one reason, the driver for Mark Davis' actions, some of which have led to the basis of this, I think will be a successful court challenge, is that he wanted to pursue the idea of gambling in the NFL. And he did it, he tried to do it behind the back of a lot of people, and he got his finger caught in the cookie jar, in the proverbial cookie jar. Did our good manager, the general partner, Al Davis. At any rate, reads talks between the NFL and the NFLPA aimed at reaching, who, by the way, Mark Davis is absolutely right about Hall of Famers and posthumous candidates being honored. And there, we have a list of posthumous NFL legends that have not received their due. But I digress. Talks between the NFL and the NFLPA aimed at reaching a new collective bargaining agreement are set to intensify in July. This was written July 3rd when I'm reading to you, right? In an effort to secure a new deal before the start of the 2019 season, as I told you before. And so the current CBA collective bargaining agreement expires at the end of the 2020 season. And sources say to ESPN that there have already been 3 direct owner-player negotiation sessions so far. And yeah, that's true. There have been. I believe 2 in New York. 1 per month in April, May, and June, plus regular conversations between staffers for both sides in between those sessions. The situation is far different than it was at the tail end of the previous collective bargaining agreement in May 2008. Owners voted to opt out of that agreement following the 2010 season, and a move that signaled their intention to lock out the players in order to secure more favorable terms in the next agreement. Lock them out they did in 2011, though the sides were able to reach an agreement in time to hold their abbreviated training camps and a full 2011 season. Funny how that worked, huh? I mean, barely a blip on the horizon now, but back then it was like, oh my God, we might have a strike. Didn't. Sources cautioned that it's too soon to know whether a new agreement can be reached by the time this one expires next year, let alone by the start of this coming season. Both sides seem optimistic they can come to an agreement without a work stoppage this time. NFLPA Executive Director DeMaurice Smith recently sent a letter to player agents asking them to advise their players to save money in the event of a work stoppage. You know what? When a union guy asks you to save money, that tells me this. That tells me that union guy that reps you intends on playing hardball. So he's telling you, you know what? Storm clouds are coming. Get ready. Okay? So, but I repeat. NFLPA, National Football League Players Association Executive Director DeMaurice Smith recently sent a letter to players' agents asking them to advise their player clients to save money in the event of a work stoppage but a union source characterized the letter as part of the normal course of business. Negotiate for the best, prepare for the worst. The owner's side appears motivated to get a deal done by the start of this year for several reasons. It's their planned NFL 100 marketing campaign, and also the upcoming end of the TV deals. If no collective bargaining agreement deal is reached by March of next year, the off season of that year, next year, will include new contract and salary cap rules specific to the final year of this collective bargaining agreement, including the lack of a June 1st release designations and the ability of teams to use both the franchise and transition tags to keep players off the free agent market. Oh, that's going to be a mess, man. Oh, that's going to be a mess if they can't resolve that. Because, see, the players, oh, boy. And therein lay the seeds for a possible strike. Because you know, and I know, that the NFL players want the freedom of free agency that the NBA players have. They are jealous that the LeBrons of the world and the Kyrie Irvings of the world, and of course, let's not forget the Kawhi Lowry, Kawhi Leonards of the world, get to basically call the shots, set up their own power teams or whatever you want to, call them, all that, right? And or the power groupings, and basically move from one place to the other. In fact, someone said, I think it was Jalen Rose said something that to the order of cities. I'm not kidding you. Cities are not as important. That means you and I living in cities, different fan bases, they don't care. The players don't care. They go anywhere they want to. Fans, And then think about that in the context of fans challenging players to fights in the stands, calling them names, being racist toward black players, okay? You put all that together, and you think about the players in the NBA saying, hey, I want movement, right? And then think about the NFL player, who also wants that kind of freedom of movement. If the NFL traps them, and it begins to take on the look of something like slavery, you can bet your bippies there's going to be a strike, okay? And don't think this is just because black players will raise the issue. You have enough woke white players who would raise the same damn issue. Keep that in mind, all right? John Acala says, I wonder if there is a labor strike if the owners will use replacement players. They could, and I think that's the wild card that I think could damage the league as we know it. Let's say that, look, here's the reason why. Folks, there are a lot of great and talented potential NFL players out there, more so than any time in our lives. And, how many times have we heard of a new league coming up, and that new league spawns a player that, had it not been for that league, we would never have heard of. And you would say, Zing, who do you mean? Okay, let me try this name on you for size. He Hate Me. Remember He Hate Me? Right? From the XFL? You would have never heard of He Hate Me were it not for the XFL. All right? So, ever. Okay? So, in fact, to underscore my point about He Hate Me, it's He Hate Me or Rod Smart. When the XFL folded, I believe Rob Smart. Oh shoot! Wow. Hey, you know what? I just stumbled on some very bad news about Rod Smart. Today is what? Yeah, this happened last month. He's missing. He was reported missing. Now, I wonder if they found him. A professional football player for Vince McMahon's XFL and the Carolina Panthers of the NFL is missing and endangered, according to deputies in South Carolina. The sheriff's office in Lancaster County put out a missing persons report for Torald Rod Smart Tuesday morning. Wow. Let me see if they found him since then. Hold on a second. He hate me. He was found safe. Thank God. He was found safe. They found him. Thank you, John. Yeah, I see that. He was found safe according to the Washington Post. And that's great news. Yeah, that's great news. Let me see what happened to him. Well, that's a jolt. It just makes you realize how small you feel in this gigantic cache of information, all this stuff that you could possibly know, right? I didn't know that. He had been missing. He was 42 years old since June 12th. Family members had concerns about his safety and well-being. They located him. He's safe at this time. Authorities put an update on Facebook, but they didn't say what happened to him. Yeah. They said that he was, yeah. And they said that it was unusual for him to be out of touch for that long. You know what happened to him? I'm just going to speculate. He met a girl. That had to have been it, man. Something happened to him. I mean, let's see. Is he married? I hope he's not married. Let's see. I hope he's not married. Oh boy, let's see here. He hate me. No indication that he's married. Yeah. There he's found. No. Wait a minute. Alliance. He hate me. Yeah. No evidence that he's married. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place here. Rod Smart has been found safe. And yeah. He's single. He found the girl. Something. All right. So, moving along from he hate me to other topics. Let's see here. It is almost 2 o'clock. I'm going to sign off and pick this up tomorrow because of the time. And I will have more information regarding the National Football League players' contractual situation. I may even reach out and see if I can get a certain person to come on my show. I also want to talk, and for that reason, I may make this a more generic title than when it's commonly focused on Las Vegas. I want to talk about the U.S. women's national team and their incredible victory over the Netherlands and what it means not just for women's sports, but sports in general. And how fascinating and incredible it is. It's supposed to be a parade for them on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. That was a talk around the country. We'll see. Hopefully that comes together. But I think this is something we can't let our show pass by, right, without talking about it. All right. Talk to you all later. And thanks again. You guys are awesome. Guys and gals.